How's it going? My name's Luke. I've come down here today to chat to XII Boar about the new album they've just recorded. Asked them some questions about how they wrote the songs, the recording process, things like that.
And loads of other bullshit.
And lots of other bullshit. So, cool.
Oi oi.
Young David, you've just finished recording the album. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about the recording process, your time at the studio, and what it was like recording an album in just 8 days?
Yeah, well, we went to Parlour Studios. I've been chatting to a guy called Russell who's done bands like Napalm Death, Début, Evil.
Napalm Death.
Evil Scarecrow. He put us on to Neil Haynes, who also works at the studio, I think owns the studio. And he was like, 8 days, you're having a laugh, aren't you? So we kind of twisted his arm a bit, did a bit of a deal, and he was like, alright, if you get your shit together, then we can go do this album in 8 days. So we got our shit together and went and did this album. So it's all stuff we'd kind of been playing for like a couple of years now. Some of the songs we've gigging them since God knows when. Like Young Man's been played forever, and ZZ Top and Crushing the P and Pitworthy. We haven't played that much, but we were playing it before we recorded it. So everything was good to go, and we demoed everything before. Just put some mics up in the rehearsal room. So we were in the right frame of mind. We had it all good and got in there, did the job. Neil was great to work with. Did a good job. No nonsense, Neil. It's a good lad.
Went about it well. Pretty much, we wanted to make it as live as possible. We wanted to capture like the 12 Boar sound, which for us is already kind of about keeping everything as raw as possible, keeping everything sounding obviously well produced, but still maintaining the qualities of what we kind of do live. So we got in contact with Neil Haynes, we got in contact with him through a guy called Russell, who's produced Napalm Death. Got a few good recommendations, said that he's kind of got a style that would suit our music. He actually originally said he wasn't actually fucking interested in doing it because he didn't think we'd be able to record the album in 8 days. And we got in there and decided that what we were going to do was we were going to have us three recording like a rhythm track live, so we try and get as much of our kind of live energy into the recording as possible, and we basically pretty much did everything in one take. We came in really well rehearsed. A lot of the songs we've already played live for maybe a year, like Young Man we play live, Sharpshoot we play live, Schaefer Boogie which we play live, what other ones do we play live? Pitworthy we play live. So we're already pretty much on the ball with that.
Given you only had 8 days, how did you go about writing it? Were there songs that you've already written, that you've already played out, or did you go in with just an idea and then write it away there?
No, we had everything written before we went into the studio. I know a lot of bands go into the studio and sort of write as they record. There's no way we had that luxury. It was like we had 8 days, so it was literally on the chop block all the time, trying to do the best we could. No, the material that's on this album's literally like an accumulation of everything we've written sort of like over the last 2 years. Sometimes a couple of tracks a little bit longer than that. We started writing for this album just after, actually some of the songs we were writing before we recorded Split Tongue. So some of the tunes on there, like Young Man, we've had that tune, like we've been playing that live for what, a couple of years now. So it's just like some of the stuff on there is like kind of golden oldie stuff, and then some of the other things on there, like we had Chicken Hawk and stuff. We were writing the lyrics literally minutes before we were recording them, and like Tom was like a real trooper with that, like just freaking pen the pad, spitting out some crazy lyrics.
Nice. You both wrote the lyrics for this album?
Yeah, I mean, Tom did the majority of the lyrics and the melodies. There's like certain little bits I'd sort of jump in and get like a few lines I've got in here and there, doing the little backing bits, this and that. But it's just like, yeah.
You wrote Battle Ball.
Yeah, but yeah. There's a track I did like Battle Boar, like wrote pretty much all of that, and then Young Man as well did the verses in that. And I wrote the lyrics to that song like frigging ages ago. But it's just like that was pretty cool actually. Like spitting out a few verses. It's pretty awesome actually.
Don't get used to it.
I think the hardest bit is probably just surviving in that tiny little room. The accommodation is
Cramped,
cozy I think. So spending 8 days in the confines of that, not really much around, just kind of landscapes and scenery, which is nice, but not really a lot to do.
And we weren't allowed in the studio.
Yeah, so we were kind of like zoo animals. Neil would pop up in the morning at like 10 o'clock. He'd open this little magic door and he'd be like, "Come on boys, out you come." And like we'd run into the studio and start recording all day. And then 6 o'clock he'd be like, "Off you go on your way." And then that would be it, he'd close the door. We'd never see him till the next day. So it was interesting.
Given that it's kind of, you've just been gigging the songs, the rest of it, what equipment wise, was it just like your live rig, or did you have anything else?
So we went in there, I brought my newly retuned JCM 2000 like Marshall head, and literally my live pedal setup and my brand new Telecaster. And when we got in there, we actually ended up using a JCM 800 because it kind of had a bit more of a old school rock and roll kind of gritty kind of sound, and I think the JCM 2000 live is really good because it's got a lot of woof, but in the studio we found we actually dialed the distortion back and kind of put the tone up slightly more, so we ended up kind of getting a more of a, I think, an old school rock sound compared to our previous stuff. Previous stuff had quite metal production. I think this has got a much more kind of ZZ Toppy kind of rock and roll production basically.
Bass wise, real sort of like real stripped back. Yeah, it was a kind of a weird thing in the studio. Like in the end, like I'll probably get onto this later, but like loads of stuff kept breaking. So in the end, like I took like 3 basses with me, but it was just like I didn't end up using any of those. I ended up using one of the basses they had in the studio, just like some friggin' PV thing. It was like a proper lump, but it had like decent like Seymour Duncans in it and stuff. It was like PGA bass, so it's the sort of thing I'd usually play, but it was just like, yeah, sort of last minute I had to swap that out. Other than that, it was literally just going into a sounds amp, and then we did a little bit of reamping, get a bit of a room sound in there, the old orange and a couple of trace cabs. That was about it, man. Bass wise, it was pretty straight up.
Wait, pedals.
Yeah, pedal wise, literally just like, it was pretty much what I run live actually. So I had like, just went into the tuner obviously. Then after that I had a little dark glass pedal, which is a Finnish company. It's just like a bass overdrive, so that's pretty cool. And I found out about that because Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse uses it, and I was just like, well, I'll give it a little spin. And the friggin' thing cost me like an arm and a leg, but yeah, it was really decent. Just like the grind you can hear on the bass is all coming from that. Other than that, the sounds amp I had pretty clean, so that was about it really. That was my little secret weapon in the studio. That was pretty decent actually.
Cool, kind of answered like a bunch of questions in one go though, which is good. Looking back now, is there anything you would change?
I don't know, it's hard because you can be your own worst critic with these things. You can listen to stuff over and over again and go, oh, I'd maybe do that like this, or maybe that could be changed there, or this could be done like this. But to be honest, I think there's a certain amount of just got to stick with what you get, and that's kind of part of the appeal. Like, I think it is what it is, and I quite like it that way. It's kind of, I mean, obviously it'd be nice to do certain things maybe a different way, a bit more time would have been nice, but end of the day I think we did an amazing job, so I'm happy.
I don't know, if there's anything I could change on the record, it'd just be like a bit more time. I mean, we were hard pressed with 8 days. It would be nice to be able to spend like, 2 weeks or a month in the studio, but we didn't have that luxury. So yeah, maybe when we hit album number 2, just we'll give ourselves a little bit more breathing space, and we won't be absolutely so mental trying to smash out tracks.
Listening to it now, what's your favourite track of the album? The one you're most
So, there's a track called Pitworthy, which is like, is it the 5th track in, Dave?
Yeah.
it's the 5th track in, and for me it's a song that we wrote ages ago that really came to life in the studio because we never really had a chance to demo it properly, and because there's so many rhythm parts, having a second guitar part in there and hearing what the second guitar was doing like over the solos and everything just really kind of like brought the song to life. And I think for me it's got the strongest lyrics, it's got like the most meaningful lyrics in the whole tune. It's kind of got a proper stonery instrumental middle eighth, and then it comes in with like this like Bohemian Rhapsody fucking where it drops and it's like and to play live it just goes down really well. Everyone seems to love it live. And another tune I quite like that really kind of came out was I like Crushing the P, because the whole thing of that song is like it's kind of got a bit of a Motorheady kind of crushing kind of power to it, and then we added like some double layers of guitar that I never get to do live because obviously there's only me playing guitar. So when I started hearing all the extra little twiddles and stuff, like it really made that song come to life. And that song's quite special for me because the whole Crushing the P thing kind of came about when we were at that fucking dancing gig, and I got off with that bird in 7 minutes. So crushing the fucking P basically.
Nice. What would you say was like the hardest part to record for you personally?
Shitty drumming.
Nah. I think the hardest part to record on the record was just it wasn't when we were in the room, because like we recorded everything all in the same room at the same time. But it was then when we came in afterwards, and if there was like any dodgy bits, like trying to like do a couple of overdubs and get those really tight, yeah, that was definitely hard. Like certain bits, especially I found, like there was like a couple of bits I found especially that was just like pretty difficult just to like, you know, get in there and get absolutely solid.
Yeah, nice. Rabbit attack.
Yeah, don't worry about rabbit attack. Don't just be chill.
Like challenging wise, like as I know you stepped up your guitar playing for a bit for this album, what was the hardest part for you to record?
I always do my solo. I always ad-lib my solos every time, pretty much. There's only 2 songs I think on this record where I always play the same solo, and I usually end up doing my best solo on the first take. So for me, the pressure was on to really kind of hit a banging solo. But I was using the way we recorded the guitars was we're like what was it? What's it called, Adam? Remodding or something?
Yeah, we reamped.
We reamped the guitars, so I was just playing my guitar through this really fucking waspish, like fake distortion noise, not through the true Marshall distortion, and without any delay or anything. So when I was doing the solos, it was drier than a nun's cunt, basically, doing the solos. So I had to kind of in my mind imagine what they would sound like whilst using my normal rig. But I think in some of the songs it's got some of my strongest like lead work on some of the solos, like in like Pitworthy solo's really good. I really like the Young Man solo. It's got a lot of Lynyrd Skynyrd little bits that I stole. I mean, well, not stole, but like borrowed. And yeah.
So actually, it's interesting you bring up stealing, because I was going to ask you. I was chatting to someone down at the One Stop the other day, and he actually said, "You know, this Tommy Hardrocks."
Yeah.
And he says you stole that name off him, and he wants it back. Do you want to take this opportunity to apologise to him?
I'd just like to say that I won that name fair and square in a bet.
A truth-telling contest.
yeah. I won that fair and square in a bet, and Johnny Softrocks could fucking do one.
Fair enough.
You nincompoop.
What's the hungriest you've ever been?
It's got to be at some kind of festival where you just starving all day and you're eating like a bread roll with a dodgy sausage in it. It's not really doing the trick. I don't know. I can tell you the most full I've ever been.
Yeah, go on, I'll have that.
It's got to be visiting Mimosa, or the Real China as it used to be called in Farnborough. It's an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, and you do eat all you can eat of this kind of
Shit.
mid-grade food.
Circus grade meat.
Yeah, yeah. And every time I come out, it's just like, oh, I think I've actually almost been sick a couple of times.
When you're writing the songs, does it start with a riff, or that you like maybe brought into rehearsal, or do you start with a theme, or how do you start?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, it usually starts off with I write a lot of the nearly every song I've written on acoustic guitar at my house. Most of it starts off. You've got like an acoustic guitar and drop D by my bed, and I just come up with like just the real basics of the riff, and then I get to band practice, and then it'll get to that time of the night where we're like, should we try something new? And then I just bang out the riff, and then we'll just jam that one riff in a loop for maybe 15 minutes. Show it, like, I'll teach Adam the riff, and then we'll just literally do that one riff, and then we generally stop after 15 minutes, and then Dave's like, right, have you got another riff? We need another riff to go with this riff. So yeah, so once we've kind of got a few riffs, some loose vocals, what will come next is the chorus, and in 12 Boar fashion we like to have a real catchy hook, a real catchy chorus. It's like one of the main things we try and achieve in our writing. And then structurally, I guess like Dave said earlier, Dave kind of plays quite a part in doing a lot of arranging and stuff like that. So what we try and do is we never try and write a linear song. We never try and write verse, chorus, middle, eighth, and we always try and add some crazy little drum and bass parts. We'll try and add some tempo changes. Recently we've been adding key changes, just to try and keep it fresh. And then even more recently, what we've been trying to do is develop me and Adam so we're both singing together a lot more. And I guess on the new record, like Adam's actually had a chance on the record we've just done. Sorry, Adam's had more chance to come in and sing on his own, taking choruses, taking 2 tunes on his own as well. Bands like Honky and like ZZ Top, where they switch up the singing, I think it's really important to do that with a 3-piece because it kind of just keeps it fresh. There's only like 2 of you at the front of the stage and a drummer at the back, so you want to try and keep the fans as interested as possible. And I guess that's where we're kind of going now with this record and the future stuff we work on, is to try and really kind of bring all our strengths together, basically. Dave, what's the worst festival toilet experience you've ever had?
I've never quite been in the ones where it's just like caked in shit, but I've been in ones where you've caked it in shit and then there's no toilet paper and then you're like, oh shit.
And what did you use, Dave?
You kind of have to use some.
Did you lose a sock?
No. I mean, there was like a little bin in there. And people use these little hand towels. So I was like, well, it's a kind of towel, I guess. So I used
already
used hand towel. But you know, it was dark. It's desperate times.
It's really dark.
Bloodstock.
Fucking hell.
Why doesn't everyone else have an embarrassing story?
Sorry, Dave.
I was wondering, I know those were questions put to Neil during the studio time. What was his answer? What's the hungriest he'd ever been?
I can answer, could he?
Neil just didn't answer.
Neil did break though, didn't he?
We did. Neil, getting on with Neil was, I think he was a bit tough to crack at first. He was a bit on his guard. He was being a bit professional, which I guess you got to do when you got to do an album in 8 days. But I think eventually over the week he got more used to us and we got more used to him, and by the end we were quite good friends. I think he quite liked us in the end.
We went out for a beer with him as well.
Went out for a beer, so I think...
That's right.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. I've only got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
One is, apparently there was a ghost doing it. And the other question is, what's the biggest dog you've ever stroked?
Oh man! Oh, the biggest dog I ever stroked was actually pretty recently. I went to the food festival in Farnham, and this woman had a giant Leonberg, which is sort of like a German dog, and it was Count Leonberg bred this dog, so it looked like the lion on his coat of arms. So I stroked this thing. It was like St. Bernard size. That was fucking awesome. Yeah, that was pretty decent. The ghosts, though, in the studio. The first night we were there, like, this place used to be an old milking parlour for cows, And yeah, it's just like the first night I woke up in the middle of the night, I felt like somebody was just stood there watching me. Like, it was well freaky. It was probably just a new place or something like that. But then the next day, just everything started breaking. Like, my Thunderbird had like some weird hum, like it was coming in.
It's a ghost.
It was the ghost was making a hum. And then like friggin' the Burns, the second bass had a grounding issue. Then when we were tracking, the fucking one of the compressors went down. The trigger on the snare broke.
That was the ghost. It couldn't fucking do the basses properly.
Yeah, fucking yeah, and it's just like I don't know, loads of stuff.
Neil's hair turned grey.
Yeah, Neil's hair turned grey at one point. It's just like I don't know, everything just kept fucking breaking in the studio. We must have had, and Neil was just like, uh oh, yeah, that was the ghost, man. That was the ghost. But no, yeah, like everything just seemed to break in the studio. And Neil said, the JCM 800 that Tom was using at one point friggin' blew up. Yeah, Neil said he had more stuff break in the 8 days we were there than in 6 months. So yeah, we blamed the ghost rather than
shitty equipment.
So yeah, it was pretty decent, man. But yeah, a bit of ethereal nonsense going on. Ethereal nonsense going on in the studio. So it was all good.